This is Ben Shapiro. I'm sure most people already know that. He completely lost his mind over the Barbie movie, which, by the way, as it turns out, is extremely popular. I have not seen it yet. I intend to soon, but I wanted to watch Ben Shapiro's 43-minute breakdown of the Barbie movie. Really, dude talked about Barbie for 43 minutes. Seriously, he cares entirely too much about this. So anyway, this is not part one. If you haven't seen the other, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll provide context if it's missing. I just wanted to listen to what Ben Shapiro had to say about the Barbie movie. And while we listen to Ben Shapiro talk about Barbie for 43 minutes straight, oh my God, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild too. I'm just kind of running around grinding, so yeah, not anything important. If you haven't played it, don't sweat it. Just be in the background. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, without further ado, let's listen to this dude just lose his mind over Barbie for 43 minutes straight, shall we? You guys voted for this, okay? I put a poll up to ask what you guys wanted to watch. We could have watched Christopher Hitchens debate the Catholic Church. You guys chose 43 minutes of Barbie bashing, so that's what we've got, baby. Okay, leading up to this point, Ben Shapiro's talking about how Barbie enters the real world. I don't fully understand the plot of the movie, so if you haven't seen it, you and I are in the same boat here. She enters the real world, and as soon as she enters the real world, she's faced with misogyny. That's what happened in the last one. And yeah, that's actually extremely common. You have no clue what it's like to be a woman in today's society. If you haven't, just ask one of your female friends who adheres to, beauty standards, Western beauty standards or whatever. Ask them if you can follow them around. Just follow them 20 feet behind for about an hour and see what happens. They'll get stalked. They'll get whistled at and catcalled and people looking down their shirts and trying to take pictures and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's insane. You have no clue what women go through, honestly, if you haven't been specifically paying attention to this. So they portray that in the Barbie movie, and Ben Shapiro thinks it's fake. It's not. It's not fake. It's real. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video.
She walks in, and a bunch of men just leer at her and say, "Give us a smile, blondie."
Yeah, that happens constantly, honestly, really.
Which is something that no one under the age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past.
That is false. That happens all the time. You are just completely ignorant of the problems, apparently.
Give us a smile, blondie? Seriously?
Yes, seriously, that happens.
We get Barbie explaining that all of the men who are leering at her and
Oop, sorry, it jumped. Let me just jump back.
We get Barbie explaining that all of the men who are leering at her and gazing at her, they have an undertone of violence. Everything's she's threatened. She's physical.
Yeah, it's scary to have people effectively stalking you. It feels like they're stalking you. Absolutely. It's creepy and weird and disgusting, and they literally follow you around until you respond to them or talk to them in one way or another. It's not, conducive to a feeling of safety, to say the least. And this is not uncommon. This isn't like a niche, only some people have this problem only some of the time. No, this happens constantly. No joke. This is extremely common.
Physically threatened, because this is the real world. The real world is not like Barbie Land. In the real world, all women are victims. They are deep and abiding victims of the system, as we'll learn by the use of the word patriarchy no less than 10 times in this film. She gets arrested twice for various crimes. Even the police officers are rabid, raging sexists. The police officers are hitting on Barbie. They're making observations about her appearance.
I mean, this is really common. Seriously, does Ben Shapiro not realize this? Is he unaware of the fact that this happens all the time? Really?
Ken, meanwhile, is getting super happy because Ken, who's been sort of an underling in Barbie Land, now he's realizing he's part of the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is awesome. Ken is loving the patriarchy.
Right. So I I haven't really been following like the storyline or whatever because again, I don't care about the storyline. I haven't been watching closely. Haven't seen the movie yet. But from my understanding, in Barbie Land, which is what they exited, Ken was subservient to Barbie. Like Barbie was queen of everything, and the Kens had to cater to the Barbies. Basically, the Kens were like inferior to the Barbies, if you will, or whatever, in Barbie Land. But they make it to the real world, and he finds that men kind of rule everything. Okay, interesting. That's an interesting little subtlety. Fascinating, actually. Okay, go on.
Now he's realizing he's part of the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is awesome. Ken is loving the patriarchy. Now, you might imagine at this point that the way the film is going to go is that Ken and Barbie are going to have to some sort of agreement about seeing each other as equal human beings. You might imagine that's where it's going. Wrong. That's not where the film is going to go. You might have thought that what you were going to get was Ken gets treated with respect as a person, and Barbie gets treated with respect as a person, and that's a better. Nope, wrong. In the end, not to skip ahead, Barbie Land just gets restored, and the men are still subservient. That's the best. That's the best version of the world. Okay, so.
No, that's God. He's taking everything in bad faith. Every single thing that he read into this movie or heard about it or whatever is all bad faith. He thinks it's all just setting out to like hate men. It's just absurd, dude. Like, come on. Really? You think it's really all about just hating men? This dude just cannot get over the fact that like not everybody is as extreme as he is. It's like he needs everyone to be as extreme. It's insane.
Ken is walking around, and he's really enjoying the patriarchy and all of this. And
oh, yeah, here's the funny part, okay?
So Ken is walking around. And
okay, so you're seeing the Ken dolls here, right? Ken is walking around and enjoying the patriarchy and all of that other stuff. Ben Shapiro dressed like this, exactly like this, when he went to see the Barbie movie. Dead serious. You can't convince me he's not a massive Barbie fan, which is fine with me. Go nuts. Be a Barbie fan if you want. But don't pretend that your producers forced you to go to it like he pretended. Be honest about it, man. Just tell us, you like Barbie. That's okay. I have no problem with that, Jeez.
And he's really enjoying the patriarchy and all of this. And he explains that men rule this world. And he goes to Mattel, and all the members of the board are men. By the way, I'd like to see a corporate breakdown of the Mattel board. I'll bet I can find it. Like the.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So when they reach the real world, Ken goes to the Mattel board. Mattel owns Barbie, if you didn't realize, and he's looking for the breakdown of the board members. Okay.
CEO of Mattel.
I mean, Mattel owns a lot more than just Barbie. In fact, I mean, Barbie may be their biggest seller. I don't know. But they own, like, board games and all kinds of different intellectual properties. So, and the vast majority of CEOs in the world are men. I'm sorry, in the United States specifically. That's what we're talking about. The context of the United States. World too, but we're talking about the U.S. here. The vast majority are men. Alexa, what percentage of CEOs in the United States are men? Okay, it sounds like 74.3% according to Alexa. I don't know if that's true or not. Take it with a grain of salt. But tentatively, that's crazy. Assuming that's true, that is insane. That number is ridiculously high. Shouldn't be 74%.
And all the members of the board are men. By the way, I'd like to see a corporate breakdown.
Oh, check it out. It's Will Ferrell. I didn't know Will Ferrell was in this.
Of the Mattel board. I'll bet I can find it. Like the CEO of Mattel for 30 years was a woman. So there's that. They pretend.
Okay, give me a second here. Just watch closely, okay? Watch closely to what happens here. Just watch the corner. Actually, I'm going to switch the game off for a sec. Just watch the corner, okay? The bottom right corner. Did you see that? There's someone else's hand. Someone just handed him a phone. And what is this? This is a picture on the phone. What are we looking at right now? I don't know what this is. Somebody already looked this up for Ben and handed him the phone? Apparently? Okay.
Like the CEO of Mattel for 30 years was a woman. So there's that. They pretend that like Mattel is all run by men. So I just now I want to know who's on the board. Okay, chairman and CEO is a dude. The board.
I don't really care what the makeup of it was. It was the subtlety of pointing out that in one world, the Barbie world, women run everything, and in the other world, men run everything, which is accurate. Men run an awful lot. Wikipedia says Barbie's age has fluctuated. So my wife and I were talking about this recently. Early on, Mattel described her as a 19-year-old, but she's often shown as an older character in adult careers. Yeah, that's interesting. I think she's supposed to be about 35, but yeah, she has been featured as like a teenage role model, basically.
Chairman and CEO is a dude. The board includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It includes 5 women. So it's 6 men and 5 women. Clear.
Okay, 6 men, 5 women. So it's an even split. I mean, that's kind of what I would have expected from an organization that basically produced a movie that subtly called out to inequality in society. This company would probably try to represent things equally. Yeah. And of course they would send Ken to Mattel because that's, the owner of the intellectual property. Why would they send him to like Hasbro? That would make absolutely no sense. I mean, Ben Shapiro's just nitpicking something that's absolutely stupid.
Clearly patriarchal domination.
Yeah, not in Mattel, maybe. I'm sure there's probably, even in Mattel, some level of inequality, of domination, if you will. But in basically every other industry in the United States, there is a level of unfairness. So, yeah, I don't like. Are you denying that there's a disproportionate number of men in positions of power in the United States? Is he denying that? What an absurd thing to like even say.
Just wanted to look that up just for the sake of, accuracy. Whenever I do these reviews, like, oh, you're taking the movie too seriously. The movie takes itself too seriously, guys. It pretends to be a comedy, but it's taking itself super seriously. Fine.
Okay, I don't think the movie is taking itself super seriously. I think you're just a little too emotional over this. I think he got too emotionally invested because he actually really, really likes Barbie, and he feels that they did Barbie dirty by making Barbie into like a female role model when he thinks that men should be running everything. That's my honest assessment of Ben Shapiro's assessment here. But who knows?
So it's all men at the top of Mattel, and they realize that Barbie and Ken have escaped Barbie land. And this presents some sort of threat. What kind of threat? Because the writers are shitty. They don't bother explaining. They're just like, a threat.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want Barbie out of, like, Barbie land. Are you kidding me? Of course that would be viewed as a threat to people. It's, like, self-evident, self-explanatory. Really?
And Will Ferrell acts all weird and goofy, like Will Ferrell. And he's funny because it's Will Ferrell acting weird and goofy. But he's not funny because it's just Will Ferrell with no actual plot or dialogue to speak of, just being weird.
Yeah, that's Will Ferrell. I mean, that's his character. From my understanding, that's just kind of what he does. He's a weirdo. That's his role in basically every movie he's ever in. He was in The Office also, and he was just a weirdo. That like you couldn't figure him out, you couldn't make any sense of him. And apparently, I've heard from people who have, been in the same place as him, that he kind of acts like a weirdo like that in everyday life too. And it's kind of annoying from my understanding, but okay.
We'll fill that in later. There's so many places in the script where it's basically like the writers they left a gap and they're like, we'll leave a couple asterisks, we'll fill it in later. And then later they got there and they're like, nah, we'll just skip right over it. Fine.
Well, tell me what those gaps are then, if that's the case. If you think that the writing was really that bad, tell me why it was bad. I want to know. What was bad about it? He says that he says that the people at Mattel were freaking out that Barbie had escaped Barbie land and was now in the real world, and that was bad. Isn't that self-evidently bad? Do they need to explain why that's bad? What are the gaps, Ben? course, if you don't know Ben Shapiro, if you know like nothing about the guy, he tried to be a screenwriter. He tried to write scripts in Hollywood, and he was just not good at it, and he failed. He failed out of it and ended up as a political commentator. But his real passion, his real goal in life was to be a screenwriter. So
they figured they got to track down Barbie and Ken. And meanwhile, Barbie is trying to track down the girl who's playing with her, and she mistakenly thinks that it is a teenage girl who is playing with her and who is unhappy. And at this point,
right. So he's kind of explaining a little bit of the plot. From my understanding, Barbie started being weird and falling apart, and she didn't understand why, and she found out that it's because the girl that owned her, Barbie, like in the real world, kind of stopped caring about her. So when you stop caring about a Barbie, apparently in Barbie land, she just kind of falls apart. So that's the idea here. I think that's like the plot point he's talking about.
She receives a lecture from the teenage girl about how Barbie has ruined the world and actually is fascist. How Barbie is a sexualized capitalistic emblem.
Okay, I seriously doubt they used all those buzzwords in this movie. I didn't hear anything about that. I think he's just getting upset over nothing, honestly. Again, I haven't seen it. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody correct me in the comments. This sounds like his piss-poor interpretation, honestly.
How Barbie has created unattainable feminine ideals. How Barbie is ruining the planet with rampant consumerism. You get like this full lecture right in the middle of the film. It's truly awful. It's truly awful. She's called a fascist. By the way, it only sets up the only good...
Is she really called a fascist in the movie? I don't see how anybody could view Barbie as a fascist. Or like Mattel or whatever. That doesn't sound right at all. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Why would they call Barbie a fascist? What? Kem Panda says he's taking a rant from one of the main characters out of context. Oh, of course he is. Of course he is. That doesn't surprise me at all to find out. I would be surprised if he didn't take it out of context. That's like what he's famous for doing. I really should have watched the movie before doing this review, but you guys requested it, so here we sit. We could have been watching Hitch debate a Catholic and shred him to pieces, but you guys wanted Barbie.
Good line of the film, truly, in my opinion, there's one good line in the film, and that is where Barbie is trying to contemplate whether she's a fascist or not, and she says, I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce. Now, there's only one problem with that line, as with the entire movie. There is no character consistency. Barbie is supposed to be an idiot bubblehead piece of plastic from Barbie land. How does she know what a fascist is? How does she know about the flow of commerce? Like, again, just in terms of character consistency, like characters who actually are the characters, makes no sense.
Okay, no, it doesn't necessarily break the flow or conflict with the characters' established roles or any of that stuff, like Ben is saying. Barbie, as a character, has always done a lot of different roles. You know, President Barbie and, I don't know, Babysitter Barbie and Dr. Barbie and whatever. A ton of different Barbie characters, right? Barbie has a wide variety of roles. It wouldn't surprise me if she suddenly was, you know, very intelligent and very knowledgeable about different subjects. That doesn't break anything.
Whatsoever. So, meanwhile, Ken is wandering around, enjoying the patriarchy more and more and more. And he keeps asking men about the patriarchy. And at one point, he asks a dude about the patriarchy. And the guy says, well, that's not really the way that it works here anymore. He says, really? He says, no, it still works that way. We just hide it really well.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. I like it. Yeah, okay. Again. Yeah, okay. So, of course, Ben Shapiro does not believe that there is any kind of system in place where men, you know, hold the majority of roles or there's any kind of inequality of any sort. Women are 100% equal, apparently have always been 100% equal in society. There's no disparity. If you think there's a disparity, then you live in a fantasy land in Ben Shapiro's little world. Just absurd, man. He is denying reality now.
Still works that way. We just hide it really well. Again, you can't even present the mild other side of the film. And this sort of nonsense continues. First third of the film is about how Mattel is kind of bad for creating this fancy land. Second third of the film is about the real world evils of the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Culminating in an idiotic line where one of the low-level members of Mattel is with the board, and Barbie is looking for a woman at the board. And the low-level man says, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman? No, you can't parallel park. That's what makes you a woman. Okay? And in any case.
Wow. God. I'm assuming that was Ben Shapiro's little joke. I don't know. No, you can't parallel park. That's what makes you a woman. I have no clue if that was Ben Shapiro's joke or not. I'm assuming it was. But that's incorrect. Women are actually better drivers than men, statistically, if you just look at data. But Ben Shapiro doesn't rely on data. You know what he relies on? Propaganda and lies and logical fallacies. That's what it's all about for him. No joke. I mean, in part 1, if you didn't see it, that's what I pointed out. I showed the logical fallacies and propaganda techniques that the dude was using. Everything Ben Shapiro says, every logical process that he's using right now is simply built to twist a situation around to make him look like, or to make his belief system look to be the most logical, when it's simply not, and the most truthful, when it's not. It's a straight up lie, the things that Ben Shapiro says. Like, he's at the very least implying, whether he said it or not, that there is no patriarchy, presumably that there never has been a patriarchy. That's simply false. That's not true. That's incorrect. You're wrong.
We get here a few obscure jokes about Proust Barbie, because again, Noah Baumbach has to show that he wrote some of the script. He made a reference to Proust. Doesn't that make him clever?
I don't understand. I don't get it, and I don't see why Ben Shapiro really cares.
Ooh. Next, he will make a reference, I would assume, to Victor Hugo. Wow. Proust. Woo. Idiots who think they're smart. It's total.
I think the guy's plenty smart. I mean, look where he is. He just made a multi-million-dollar movie. Like, it's the top at the it's at the top of the box office. I wanted to see Barbie this weekend. I can't. I'm in New York City because it's sold out, okay? This not even opening weekend. It's been out for a little bit. And it's sold out still in New York City. This is a massive movie. Dude is no idiot, okay? You're just upset that he succeeded, apparently, in screenwriting where you failed miserably, seems to me. But okay.
Okay, then Barbie escapes the Mattel building. They were going to package her up and they were going to send her back to Barbie Land. And she instead runs and she escapes the Mattel building. And she hooks up with America Ferrera. So America Ferrera is the actual one who's playing with Barbie as a youth. And it's her daughter who Barbie had originally approached. Twist! Okay, and she decides that in order to escape the Mattel executives, she's going to have to bring both of them back to Barbie Land. Why does she bring both of them back to Barbie Land? No one knows.
Because it would be fun. I don't understand why this is a problem.
There's no actual, there's no explanation as to why she's supposed to bring both of them back to Barbie Land. Supposedly, it's because she needs to escape back to Barbie Land, but she could do...
Wait. So there was an explanation, is what you're telling me. He just said there wasn't an explanation, but there actually was. What are you talking about, Ben?
As to why she's supposed to bring both of them back to Barbie Land. Supposedly, it's because she needs to escape back to Barbie Land, but she could do that without the two of them. But she decides she's going to bring them back. So she brings them back to Barbie Land. Meanwhile, the Mattel executives are chasing her. Now, question, why are they chasing her? They achieved their goal. Barbie's back in Barbie Land. Why are they still chasing her? No.
Why not? Because they want to? I mean, I feel like he's seriously nitpicking the hell out of this movie. Like, is it really that important? Does it really mean that much? Really?
No one knows. It doesn't make any sense. They literally say, there will be consequences you can't even imagine. And then they're like, what consequences? And they're like, fill in the
Well, they're going to punish her for getting out of her little cage. That's the idea, I guess.
blank. And some dude says something about a podcast with two trees. You're like, that's the laziest shitty writing. God bless it. Okay.
It didn't seem lazy, and it didn't seem terrible, the writing, to me. It seemed like top-tier writing, actually. I mean, again, I have not seen it. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like its level of popularity on its opening weekend speaks to the quality of writing. They had the best writers in the world on this, it seems like, right? Is it just me? Am I misreading it? Again, just because something's popular does not mean that it's good. Hamilton, the play, the Broadway play Hamilton, was terrible in every way. There's nothing good about Hamilton. It is literally the worst. But, you know, I'm not here to bug you about Hamilton. Okay, there's no reason Hamilton should have been as popular as it was, all right? And it bothers me terribly. But, again, I'm not here to talk about Hamilton. I'm just saying sometimes I suppose popular things shouldn't be popular, but they're popular anyways. I suppose that happens from time to time. That doesn't seem to be the case in this situation.
Okay, anyway. So Ken, in the meantime, he has already headed, while she was, futzing around over at Mattel, Ken has already headed back to Barbie Land, where he has immediately established the patriarchy. So just to point out here, the point of the film is that the matriarchy is amazing. Women are amazing at everything. Ken walks in, and within 2 seconds, he has taken over all of Barbie Land, and he has turned it into the Kendom. Within 2 seconds.
Okay, I mean, I don't think that's the point of the movie. I think the point of the movie was that, there is a patriarchy, and there are these, established. What's the term I'm looking for here? There are these established institutions that exist, whether they've been destroyed or not, whether we've gotten past it or not. These institutions have existed since forever and still affect things to some degree. I mean, are you really going to argue with that, Ben? Of course he is.
So apparently the women are so unbelievably competent and brilliant and great at everything over in Barbie Land that an idiot man walks in and takes over the whole place inside of 2 seconds. Fine. So he takes over the entire place. We later learn that's because...
Dude, it's just a joke.
The women, they didn't know what was coming. We later learned they didn't have immunity. And the way that they get immunity is by learning to hate the men. That
It's just absurd. This is absolutely absurd, dude. This guy is so pissed off about nothing. About nothing. The guy is angry over absolutely nothing. Like, get over yourself, Ben. Seriously. Are you really this bent out of shape over some silly movie? I have to imagine he's just upset that he didn't do a better movie.
That's the way that they have to learn to hate the men. Okay, so Ken decides he's going to go back and he's going to establish his patriarchal system.
Okay, my read is that they don't have to hate the men. They just have to be aware that a patriarchy exists in society. Again, I have not seen the movie. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody correct me if so, please. That's just what I'm picking up from it. Just trying to read between the lines that Ben is scribbling haphazardly.
We only learn this when Barbie heads back with America Ferrera and Random Daughter. And Ken immediately starts acting like the jerks in the patriarchy, right? He calls her baby. Oh, no. He calls her baby.
Yeah, so again, Ben doesn't understand this. There are words, there are terms, calling somebody sweetheart, calling somebody baby, who is not your baby nor your sweetheart. It's indicative of deep misogyny. Seriously, like, you don't understand how much shit women put up with until you follow one around for a while. Just, again, ask somebody in your life. You can just follow them around like 20 feet behind them and just watch what happens. Have them walk, have them take public transportation. Just see what happens. You ever wonder why women don't want to walk around at night? You ever wonder why they carry pepper spray and you don't? This is seriously a problem that a lot of people are just unaware of.
The greatest of all insults, he calls her baby. And then America Ferrera is trying to explain to Barbie what exactly is going on. And she's like, it's just like the indigenous people and smallpox. They had no immunity. Howard Zinn wrote the script.
Okay, interesting. There's a story about how when people came to America, they gave blankets to indigenous people here as a gift, but it was laced with smallpox in an effort to kill the indigenous people off. It was kind of biological warfare, if you will. I'm not sure how true that story is, actually. You might want to fact check that's real. I'm skeptical. But either way, the point is that you have to gain an immunity to certain things, like gain an immunity to people's false understandings or propaganda or lies or whatever. You have to gain an immunity to this stuff. That's the point here.
The ladies.
I mean, apparently Ben Shapiro doesn't like that some people might gain immunity to false information or might gain immunity to hatred or disinformation or whatever. He's upset about that possibility. It's just a joke, man.
Howard Zinn wrote the script. So the ladies in Barbie Land had no immunity to the magic of the patriarchy, the magic. Women were seduced into... So just to point out here, the actual argument the movie is making is that if women enjoy men, it's because they have been brainwashed by the patriarchy. They make this message explicit in just a few minutes in the film. And when I say a few minutes, I mean several years, because this film took years off my life. It is long, it is boring, and it's terrible.
It's not, actually. It's extremely popular.
Okay, so the Kens are about to perform... None of this makes any damn sense. Okay, the Kens are about to...
Did he just say it doesn't make any goddamn sense? That surprises the hell out of me. He's Jewish. He's so Jewish he's wearing a yarmulke, as he does in pretty much every video that he ever produces. You ever noticed that? Maybe not. Ben Shapiro wears a yarmulke in every video that he ever produces. He's wearing one now. Just step back. Look, see it? Right there, he's wearing one. To my knowledge, Jewish people do not like use of the word God at all. It's like a holy name or a cursed name or whatever that you're just not supposed to use. So that surprises me.
None of this makes any damn sense. Okay, the Kens...
Yeah, sure enough, he did. And then he muted the word God. That's fascinating.
...are about to have a vote to change the Constitution. Why? Why? Ken literally just seized power. He's a fascist. What the f*** is he gonna vote for? Why are they voting? Like
Okay, Ken seized power. They want to remove his power. The idea is that democracy is better than fascism. That's the point that they're getting at. Did you not pick up on that? Really? Are you that dense that you didn't realize that was what they were trying to communicate? Democracy better than fascism. That was the point.
He seized power. Also, what is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies? Are there as many Kens as Barbies? Because why would they hold a vote? The Kens appear to be in a minority in Barbie Land. There are a lot more Barbies than Kens. So if that's the case...
The point is that democracy is better than fascism. Really? Is it too subtle for him? Is this like... apparently this script is just way, way, way too good for him to understand. That's what I'm picking up here.
Why even do the democratic vote thing? Why not just seize the power? Because then you wouldn't have the rest of the dumb plot of this stupid film. So
no, because then it would show that democracy doesn't work or democracy is not the best way to go or whatever. When in reality, that's I suppose that's kind of the point of the film, right? Showing that democracy is better than dictatorship or fascism or whatever. That seems like the kind of underlying message here.
So they decide they're going to hold the vote. And not only are they going to hold the vote, they're going to be very fair about it. They're going to hold it in 48 hours. They're going to hold it in a couple of days to make sure that the Barbies have time to actually form a counter plan. Why would they do that? No reason. Asterisk, asterisk, we'll fill it in later. Okay, so they decide they're going to hold this dumbass vote. And the Barbies learn about this, and Barbie is very depressed because Barbie realizes that all the other Barbies have been taken in by the patriarchy, and this is extremely bad. Now, here's...
Right, so that's why they're holding a vote, because people have been propagandized, and she knows that they have, some of them.
One place where you have a serious continuity error in the film. So, Margot Robbie, who plays Barbie at the beginning, half the time she plays Barbie is kind of stiff like it all, and half the time she plays Barbie is just kind of normal. And so now she plays it super stiff like it all. She sits down, in kind of 90-degree position like a Barbie would, and she keels over in the 90-degree position. And it would be funny, except she hasn't been doing it the whole film. Again.
Well, that's the thing. See, that's the point. Did he really not get any of this? The point being made is that when Barbie came to the real world. She kind of woke up from the daze that is Barbie Land. She came to her senses. She understood. She realized what's happening. She became more real. That's the point. It was another subtle message that apparently just went right over Ben Shapiro's head. Wow, Ben. A Harvard law school graduate, trained to understand subtleties and arguments and propaganda techniques. And the Barbie movie is too complex for him to understand. How about that?
Again, the level of inconsistency and bad filmmaking here is just off the chart.
That's not bad. That's not inconsistency or bad filmmaking. That's actually very good filmmaking. That's subtlety. That's what makes a good film more often than not. And it's subtlety that he absolutely gets. You can't convince me Ben Shapiro didn't understand what was happening and what they were doing and the point they were getting at here. He knew.
They needed somebody to actually sit down with them and be an adult in the room, and no one was there. So at this point, America Ferrera and daughter decide they've given up on Barbie because Barbie won't fight for herself. And so they take off. And Michael Cera, for no reason, is in this film. And he's in the back of the car, and we don't know why.
Yeah, I'm confused about that.
And he serves no purpose other than to have a random fight scene. And also so that they can make a Trump building the wall reference. Right? They're apparently the Kens are going to build a wall to keep people from getting in or getting out. Now.
Okay, that's not necessarily a Trump building the wall reference. I think he's just reading politics into everything when it doesn't necessarily belong there. Really?
Here's the weird part. No one has ever entered or exited Barbie Land before. Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall? No one explains. It's just a dumb Trump reference so that everybody who is friends with Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig can laugh and nod like the morons.
This is absolutely absurd. This interpretation that he's laying on us is nonsense. Ben cannot even believe this. Harvard graduate Ben Shapiro can't possibly believe what he's saying right now. See, this is why I don't buy that Ben Shapiro is an honest actor. Because of shit like this. This is so blatantly obvious what's happening here. It's obvious. I'm just some dude. I didn't even graduate high school. I got my GED, okay? And I went to a 2-year college. And somehow this dumbass right here is reading the subtleties more adequately in the Barbie movie than a Harvard Law School graduate. Give me a break. He's not an honest actor.
They are. And so the daughter and the mom, they decide, no, we have to go back and we have to save Barbie Land. They're going to save Barbie Land. And who do they go to? They go to wise, weird lesbian Barbie.
Okay, why did he call her lesbian? Is she lesbian? This is another plot point of the movie that's kind of irrelevant unless you want to watch the movie. I'm just going to leave it out. Basically, this Barbie was played with too much and too rough, obviously, because her hair has been cut and she's wearing weird outfits and stuff. That's the plot point here. She's been mistreated as a Barbie doll. That's the idea. But she is extremely wise and knowledgeable, so they go to her for guidance on things because she's been through everything. That's the point.
And who do they go to? They go to wise, weird lesbian Barbie.
I don't know why he called her a lesbian. Is she a lesbian?
They go back to Kate McKinnon, and they ask her about this.
Is it just that they don't? Is it just that he doesn't like people who are lesbians? Is that the point here? Is he trying to make her a more hateable character by calling her that? I don't know. What's the point here?
Weird lesbian Barbie. They go back to Kate McKinnon, and they ask her about this.
Okay, somebody who has seen the movie. It does not... Weird Barbie doesn't have her sexuality explicitly defined, if I remember right. Yeah, I mean, did she live with another woman? Was there even a hint that maybe she was lesbian? I mean, I'll take anything. Is it just like Ben Shapiro making it up because he doesn't believe that, because he just wants to make this movie more hateable? It sounds like something he's making up because he wants to make it more hateable. Because, of course, being gay for anybody is evil and wrong and bad and blah, blah, blah.
Lesbian Barbie. They go back to Kate McKinnon and they ask her about this. And they bring Barbie with them. And they're going to try to figure out a strategy. How do they stop the Kens from winning the vote? Now, you might say to yourself, wait, aren't the women majority? Do they not have agency?
Yeah, yes. The women are a majority, and yes, they do have agency. But the point is that they've been propagandized, too. They've been lied to. Things have been twisted around and distorted, and the Kens have taken over institutions and made it more difficult for the Barbies to succeed in anything. That's the point here. That's the problem. And Ben Shapiro knows that. You cannot convince me this dude is just... You can't convince me he's an honest actor. You cannot. I'm sorry. No, she lives alone. He's absolutely being hateful here without proper information. As I assumed, of course. According to somebody who's actually seen the movie Kim Panda. Thank you, Kim Panda. Just absurd. Give me a break, man.
Now, you might say to yourself, wait, aren't the women majority? Do they not have agency, the women? They have no agency, apparently. So apparently the women have no agency, and
you can have agency and still be propagandized. That's what happened. The Barbies were propagandized to. They were lied to. Their situation was distorted and twisted around intentionally by the Kens. That's the point. And he knows that's the point. You cannot tell me this dude is unaware of that.
they are a majority, and yet they have to be deprogrammed. They're going to be deprogrammed by Weird Barbie and her crazy cadre of feminist heroes.
I love you guys.
And this is when we start getting into the real. You think it's propagandistic so far? Oh, man, wait.
It hasn't been propagandistic at all. It's had subtle messages, which is what a movie does. What propaganda techniques are being used here, Ben? You know them. You went to Harvard. You know how this stuff works. Tell me which ones specifically were used. Which propaganda techniques were used to spread disinformation? And what's the disinformation being spread? There is none. He made it up.
Here is where we get into like the real meat of it. Okay, so we end up with Barbie complaining. She's complaining to Weird Barbie. And she says, oh my God, they've brainwashed all the other Barbies. They've brainwashed all the other Barbies. She says, quote, either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There is no in between. And Weird Barbie says, tell me about it. And this is the...
I don't fully understand. Am I missing something? Either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There's no in between. What message is he trying to communicate here? I'm sorry, I don't understand what Ben Shapiro is saying.
The perspective of the film. Either you're a third wave feminist kook who hates men, like truly hates men, or you're brainwashed.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
There's no in between.
Okay, I don't think that's the message of the film at all. That's not what I was reading, even a little bit. That doesn't seem like the message in any way, shape, or form. It sounds like Ben Shapiro is just like bitter that this film performed better than any film that he has ever written in his entire life and ever will write. That's honestly what it seems like to me, but okay.
Or you're brainwashed.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
There's no in between. There's no actual relationship between men and women. There can't be any sort of fulfilling relationship between men and women. There are no decent males in the entire film. All the men are garbage. The only man who even appears mildly is America Ferrer's husband, who's just kind of a joke. He's there for literally 10 seconds in the film making jokes about how he can't speak Spanish. That's
Okay, so it's interesting he points that out. There are some subtleties that I feel that I see in movies from time to time that are propagandistic and bad. One example is the movie Black Christmas. Now, if you saw part 1 of this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Black Christmas, the 2019 edition. It was a remake of a remake of a remake or something like that. So the 2019 Black Christmas movie was shallow and empty and terrible. It's a message that I agree with. It was a feminist message, and it was promoting equality and things like that. But Black Christmas was just bad. It was just terrible. It was like every female character was good and strong and powerful and being oppressed, and every bad character was male, and there was no in between. All males were bad, all females were good, and they were all just shallow, completely shallow, two-dimensional characters. It was just bad. Yeah, that was a bad film. This is not a bad film as far as I can tell. Actually, after hearing what the plot is, it sounds really interesting and integral. It sounds like it's a movie designed for anybody, not just like... I mean, it's a PG-13, so it's designed for women over the age of 13 who played with Barbies over the past 50 years. Anybody like that. That's what it seems like to me. But okay, Ben's going to be upset about it, even though there doesn't seem to be a reason. Let's keep listening here.
That's his whole role in the film. Every other man is a piece of shit in the film. Everyone. And so, this is the perspective of the film when you come right down to it. Either you are brainwashed or you are weird and ugly. And Barbie's like, yeah, that's what Barbie says. I mean, the only decent male is Alan, who apparently wants to wear pink and probably is supposed to be gay. I mean, I think it's supposed to be pretty clear from the film. Although,
again, why are you reading into these situations where all these people are gay and lesbian and stuff? Did it ever explicitly say that? Did it ever even imply that in any way? Or are you just straight up making this up? From what I can tell, he just made it up about the weird Barbie that's been played with too hard. Does it show this Ken, like, kissing another dude or anything? I don't understand. And one more time, I said this in the other parts, too, so I'm going to say it again here. Ben Shapiro is convinced that this movie is for 8-year-olds. It is not for 8-year-olds. It is a PG-13 movie. It is not supposed to be watched by people under that age unless their parents are with them. And even then, maybe not. What am I doing in-game? Somebody asked just now. Basically, there are Octorocks here, right? And Octorocks, like, suck up the things around them. If you drop a weapon that's about to break, you can tell it's about to break because it's, blinking red here. If you drop a weapon that's blinking red, the Octorock will pull it up, repair it, and give it a modifier. So I keep dropping the weapon. And so this weapon that I have here, this is a Gerudo Scimitar, I think is how it's pronounced. Scimitar. Scimitar, yeah, I was right. Scimitar.
Scimitar.
Okay, whatever. Anyways. So these are Gerudo Scimitars. That's how I'm going to say it. And that's how it is. They break very, very easily, but they are extremely powerful. So I want the Diamond ++ modifier because that means it's got more durability. That's the highest durability modifier. So I'm going to continue to drop these, let the Octorock suck it up, and throw it back at me. And I'm going to check to see if it has that modifier. Nope, it has the attack up modifier. So it has an attack of 137 rather than 127. I don't really care about the attack up modifier. My weapons are already insanely powerful, so I'm going to reload, and I'm going to do it again until I get durability ++. That's how I do it. Now, I have royal broadswords that are pristine that I got in the depths, just like I got my Gerudo Scimitars in the depths, and they are also pristine. That's not easy to do. Took me forever to do that. I want my royal broadswords to have durability. I want my royal broadswords to have attack ++. There you go. See? Durability ++. That's what I wanted. The Octorocks are only good for one repair, so I destroy it so that I know that I already hit this one. So if I need to do this again a little bit later before the next blood moon, I won't come back to it. And I'm going to go find the next Octorock because I have another blinking red one. It's about to break. The ones that I have never used, the weapons I've never used, have that little blinking shine to them in the corner, top right corner, you can see. So I've used this weapon and this weapon a lot. I might throw these at an Octorock too to have them repaired so they are in better shape. I haven't decided. It depends on how many Octorocks I have around. So, anyways, yeah, that's what I'm doing if you were wondering. The reason I even have royal broadswords instead of all Gerudo Scimitars is because the royal broadswords do double damage if you do a flurry rush. And I do a lot of flurry rushes against, like, bosses. And if it's doing double damage, then the royal broadsword is more powerful than the Gerudo Scimitar. So, Gerudo Scimitar is going to do 127 damage no matter what, right? And it's also weak against, and it's also very, it has bad durability. It breaks very easily. The Royal Broadsword does not have bad durability. It has really good durability. So the Royal Broadsword lasts for like ever. So if it's more powerful for flurry rushes than the Gerudo Scimitar, I would rather use it. So I will, like, if I'm in a battle, I'll switch real quick to the Gerudo Scimitar I'll switch real quick to the Royal Broadsword so that I have a more powerful weapon to use against the enemy or whatever. And it's much more durable. So there's your answer if you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm just finding Octorocks and leveling up my weapons because they're about to break. It's a little trick in the game that you may not learn until later. So let's see. I have this one is another Gerudo Scimitar, but it has a club on it. So there's slicing weapons and there are club weapons in this game. And I have one club in case I need to use it, and everything else is slicing because slicing is a lot more useful, generally speaking. So I'm going to drop this club since it's part of a Gerudo Scimitar. Once again, I'm going to drop it until I get durability plus. Drop it. Ooh, Octorok did not suck it up, so let me try that again. Drop. Wait for the Octorok to pull it up. And then fix it and throw it back at me. We'll see if it's Diamond plus plus. Nope, it's the throw one. This is basically a modifier that is absolutely useless. You can throw it really far. That's it. Why do I care? I don't care if I can throw it or not. Anyways, I'm just going to keep reloading until I get durability plus plus for these. That's what I'm doing, if you were wondering. Let's step back and keep listening to Ben here.
Is supposed to be gay. I mean, I think it's supposed to be pretty clear from the film, although really the take of the film is that all the Kens are gay. That's really the take.
I don't believe that. Like, he already called a Barbie gay that there's no reason to believe that about. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just skeptical. I don't believe a word out of Ben's mouth.
The film is that it's all homoerotic kind of stuff.
Let's beach off.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
They're talking about beaching because they're on the beach. That's actually really funny. It sounded like a funny joke. I'm not really clear on the context, but it sounded funny.
In any case, the filmmakers are so insecure with even their own script that they then have the narrator jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point, right? Because Barbie's saying, I don't feel beautiful anymore. And they're like, Margot Robbie. They literally jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point. Then maybe you shouldn't have written the point. Then maybe you shouldn't write it like that.
Okay, that was breaking the fourth wall, and it's a clever little way of calling out to the audience. And if timed correctly, it can be very, very funny. That was probably the point. Now, Ben Shapiro is just pissed off by this movie and wants to hate it, so he's looking for any opportunity to shit on it. That sounds like it was actually a very funny scene to me, breaking the fourth wall. It sounds like it was done cleverly. And if it's done too often, then it's terrible also. But he's only given us one example of it, and I have to imagine he'd give us like a lot. He'd give us every single example of it if it happened more often, because apparently he hates it when things break the fourth wall. See, this is why he's a bad scriptwriter. He doesn't seem to understand subtlety, or at least he's pretending not to. He doesn't understand when exposition is important or how to deliver it. He doesn't seem to understand the fourth wall. He doesn't understand anything about script writing. Nothing. Or at least he's pretending not to, at the very, very least. He thinks this is making him look good, this review. It's not. You look terrible. Oh, see, this is attack up, up. I don't want that. I want durability up, up, because it's a Gerudo Scimitar. Alan being gay is a fan theory, and they nod to it. Ben isn't reading into that, as Alan was Ken's best buddy, and the packaging made it seem gay. Oh, okay. All right. Well, fair enough, then. Fair enough. Ben already did read into somebody else being gay, who there was no reason to think was. So I'm just skeptical of everything at this point. That's all. Deadpool and Jennifer Walters break the fourth wall all the time. Oh, yeah, constantly. like I said, breaking the fourth wall too much can be a problem and can be obnoxious and annoying and not funny at all if you do it wrong. But the perfectly timed fourth wall break can be really, really good. And the right fourth wall breaks are an indication of how good the director is, basically, the one that makes that decision. So if this is the only fourth wall break in the entire movie, it sounds pretty good to me.
Maybe you should not be a writer. Maybe you could do that. Okay, no. Okay, this is when we get the full bore thesis of the film. And guess what, guys? The thesis of the film, made by women, made for women, made starring women, funded by a studio that is largely staffed by men.
Wait, didn't he say earlier that it was the studio was not staffed by men? Am I mistaken? I thought it was funded by Mattel, right? Am I wrong? Isn't that the studio? And isn't this the CEO of Mattel or something like that? Wasn't the point that he made earlier that it was an equal split between men and women in Mattel, in the Mattel board or whatever? And now he's making the point that it's mostly controlled by men. Isn't he like reversing course, like right in the middle of the episode? You know why he's doing that? Because he knows his gullible suckers of an audience won't go back and think about that. They won't process that. They won't care. They just want to hate, just like Ben. They're looking for a reason to hate. Now, if you really want to hate something, there we go. I was looking for durability plus. I got it. That's what I needed. Now, if you really want to hate something, Hamilton is worth hating. Again, I agree with the politics of the directors of the Hamilton Broadway play, but it was bad. It was just bad. There are some messages that I agree with that are terribly poorly executed. This doesn't seem to be one of them. The Founding Fathers were extremely racist. Like, terribly racist. Like, most of them owned slaves, right? And the movie, or the Broadway play, Hamilton, it was all played by people of color. That makes no sense at all. In fact, it's a spit in the eye. If you're playing a historical character, you should play them accurately. In my opinion. That's just one of the problems that I had with Hamilton. Politics I agree with, executed poorly. Doesn't sound like that's what happened here, in my opinion. Anyways, let's keep listening here. So, I suppose, like, just for argument's sake, I suppose I'll take what he said. Let's keep going.
Women, funded by a studio that is largely staffed by men. The take of the film is that it is impossible to be a woman in the modern age. Absolutely impossible. And so we get this long speech of America Ferrera talking about how it's so difficult to be a woman. They want us to be this way, but not that way. They want us to be thin, but they don't want us to say that we're thin. They want us to earn money, but they don't want us to earn money. They want us to do this. And
I'm sorry, what? They want us to earn money? They don't want us to say... What? What the hell are you saying, Ben? That makes absolutely zero sense. What are you talking about right now? He's talking about the perceived and pretend plight of women in society. No, there are actual problems in society, like real problems that women face. Is he denying that there are any problems at all in society? Is that like what he's doing right now? I don't understand. I think he's pretending that there are absolutely zero disparities in society and people are just complaining for absolutely no reason. And it's not like this movie isn't even complaining. It's just talking about disparities and differences and stuff. And it's doing it in a really clever way, seemingly. Like, my God, Ben, do you really, like, get this pissed off about everything?
they don't want us to do that. They want us to answer for men's bad behavior, but they don't want us to offend men. They want us to do this, and they don't want us... Oh, my...
I didn't catch any of that in anything that he's shown or talked about here.
God, it's so difficult to be a woman. So the same tried, truistic bullshit that they've been propagating in every new wave feminist film for the last 45 years in the United States is now essentially telescoped into this one speech from America Ferrera, including a few cutaway shots of Margot Robbie looking up adoringly at America Ferrera as she explains that it's super hard to be a woman. It's so damn difficult to be a woman. You know why? Because of the patriarchy.
Okay, I didn't pick up any of that in what Ben said or any of the clips that I've seen or anything. This sounds completely made up to me. Is it just me? Am I misreading this?
Because of the men. That's the actual story of the film. And then they make a couple of other dumb references, right? The Zack Snyder cut. The men, they like the Zack Snyder cut. Wow, that's terrible. Okay, fine. Then they say, you know what we need to do? We need to disabuse all of these Barbies of the patriarchy. How are we going to do this? We need to allow them to live with the cognitive dissonance required to be a woman under the patriarchy. That's a line from Barbie. Now again, they keep doing this. They keep having Barbie drop these extremely literate and well-articulated lines, but she's supposed to be a plastic doll idiot.
Authority.
Well, she starts out as an idiot, yes, and then she goes through, a transformation and becomes intelligent. That's the plot of the story. And for what it's worth, Barbie dolls do represent extremely intelligent characters a lot of the time. Dr. Barbie and President Barbie and whatever. There are a billion different types of Barbies. What? There's Astronaut Barbie too, apparently. Astronaut Barbie. Do you have any idea what it takes to become an astronaut? A whole heck of a heap. There are... Hang on. Looking for the different Barbies. I was looking for a list of all the different Barbies, but I'm not seeing one. Anyway, the point is there are a lot of different types of Barbies, okay? And it sounds like in the film, Barbie had a cognitive awakening. She became aware of her situation and aware of the world around her and what was happening and everything else. Like, that was the point of the film. Again, a barely subtle message. Like, this isn't even a subtle message, really. This seems like a pretty blatantly obvious message. Is Harvard graduate Ben Shapiro really not picking this up? Or is he relying on his gullible sucker of an audience to not pick it up and pretending not to get it himself? That I'm leaning on that one right now.
Should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
It doesn't matter. What is their actual strategy?
Well, that's actually fascinating. Listen to this again. Wait, is this from the Barbie movie or Toy Story? I'm not sure.
Articulated lines, but she's supposed to be a plastic doll idiot.
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
Oh, yeah, okay. It was Toy Story. Yeah, that was a line from Toy Story. Interesting. Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not the threat of force. That's actually fascinating. That's a fascinating line. So, yeah, Barbie was portrayed as an idiot originally, and, as the film goes forward, she becomes more and more intelligent. That was the whole point of the film. Did you really miss this?